70 Palestinian detainees arrive in Egypt under the exchange agreement. Hamas hand over 4 Israeli soldiers to the Red Cross in Gaza. And Netanyahu conditions Palestinians' return to northern Gaza. It's 4 p.m. Cairo local time, and you're watching Qnews. We begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Gaza. "70 Palestinian detainees, most serving life sentence or long term, will be transferred from Gaza through the Egypt-Gaza border. This has been confirmed by an Al Qahira news correspondent stationed on the Egyptian side of Rafah. The detainees' transfer follows their release under a detainee exchange agreement. Earlier, the Palestinian Prisoners Affairs Committee announced that Israel plans to release 200 Palestinian prisoners, with 70 of them set to be deported outside Gaza and the West Bank as part of the deal. An Egyptian source has revealed that Egyptian and Qatari mediators have been informed that Arbil Yehoud is alive and will be released on February 1st. This announcement follows Egypt's successful efforts to facilitating a detainee exchange as part of the ongoing ceasefire agreement. Hamas has handed over 4 Israeli soldiers to the International Red Cross in Gaza as part of the second phase of a detainee exchange deal with Israel. The exchange took place publicly, witnessed by hundreds of Palestinian civilians. The soldiers identify as Karina Ariev, Daniela Gelbau, Naima Levi, and Larry Albag were seen in military uniforms and appeared to be in good health. A formal agreement was signed between Hamas and the Red Cross during the event. The International Red Cross has received 4 Israeli detainees in central Gaza as part of the second phase of the detainee exchange deal under the ceasefire agreement. Hamas handed over the detainee early this morning, with a Red Cross team facilitating their transfer through the Kirm Abu Salem crossing. Under the agreement, a phased Israeli withdrawal begins today, allowing displaced residents to return home, freedom of movement within Gaza, and the delivery of humanitarian aid. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that Palestinians will not be allowed to return northern Gaza until the release of civilian detainee Arbil Yehoud is finalized. Netanyahu stated that her release is expected as part of the detainee exchange agreement. His office emphasized that resolving Yehoud's case remains a precondition for Palestinian resettlement in northern Gaza, reaffirming Israel's firm stance during the ongoing exchange process.
For your efforts in helping free Israeli hostages. I look forward to working with you to return the remaining.
The Israeli military has issued warnings to Gaza residents ahead of the second phase of the Daytoni exchange and truce agreement. Army spokesperson for Arab media, Avigai Adrai, stressed that restrictions remain in place, including movement towards northern Gaza, the Netzarim corridor, and the Palestinian side of Rafah due to ongoing military operations. He also warned of risks near military positions and coastal areas, advising residents to avoid fishing, swimming, or approaching the buffer zone.
Yeah.
Israeli Army spokesperson Daniel Hagari has reiterated Israel's commitment to recovering all detainees held in Gaza. Speaking at a press conference, Hagari accused Hamas of violating the detainee exchange agreement. He confirmed that military operations would continue across all fronts to ensure Israel's security. Hagari also reported that 841 Israeli soldiers have died in the Gaza war, with many others injured. He highlighted the ongoing deployment of Israeli forces in Gaza as part of efforts to achieve their objectives.
Who were all abducted by Hamas from Nahal Oz on October 7th, 2023. Today, we salute and embrace them.
For more analysis, we now move to Salma Marwan in our newsroom. To you, Salma.
Thank you, Mona. And for further analysis on the situation in Gaza as the detainees exchange deal enters its second phase, we're joined from Cairo by Al Ahram newspaper managing editor, Mr. Ashraf El Asri. Mr. Ashraf, thank you so much for joining us on Q News. And first off, can you elaborate on Egypt's specific role in facilitating the release of Palestinian detainees, particularly the 70 transferred to Egypt?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. Certainly what we are seeing today in the second phase of the truce deal is pinned of Egypt's role effectively that through the negotiation and the political negotiations for several months in Doha and in Egypt, in Paris 1, Paris 2 and in Rome. And through the initiatives that led to the signing of the deal in Doha, along with the U.S. guarantees, as Egypt's proposals were the same proposals presented by Egypt in June last year. Therefore, the original of the proposals are pure Egyptian initiatives, and it's been agreed to have an effective role by establishing an operating room in Cairo to follow up the execution of all the details of the truce. And what we are seeing today is a part of the Egypt success that will continue upcoming days. And this morning, Rafah crossing will be entered to facilitate the delivery of 600 trucks, including the fuels. And particularly, Egypt have received 70 of the Palestinian prisoners to rest to stay in Egypt for a few days and to be deported to three countries, which are Turkey and Tunisia and Algeria. And there is an Egyptian desire to have to support all the human and relief aid into Gaza Strip. In addition of continuing the efforts to execute and follow up all the details of releasing the detainees and prisoners of both sides throughout the 40 days, and the upcoming Saturday will be the start of the third phase in order to
Now, with Egypt always standing at the forefront of mediation efforts, how does Egypt's mediation align with its broader regional diplomatic efforts in the Middle East?
Since Egypt is a key state that has several opportunities and presence politically and diplomatically, in addition that has a great expertise throughout the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and engaged in 4 wars and pursued strongly to stop the bloodshed in the Palestinian territories. For instance, in the last 11 years, Egypt pursued to stop 5 rounds of clashes between Hamas and the Israeli side. In Egypt have succeeded to make the deal of the swap of the between the two sides, such as firstly started with the exchange of the Israeli soldiers Gilad Shalit, and made a great effort to close the perspectives of Palestine and Israel. And we witness this movement, the fruits of these efforts today, with the cooperation with the Qatari side as well as the US. Egypt is the main pillar to solve all the faults of the confrontations between the Israelis and the Palestinians. There is a great confidence of the importance and pivotal role of Egypt as that has a great keys to impose the ceasefire and to provide all the medical and relief aids to our brothers in the Palestinian Strip. Particularly, Egypt is requesting to search of the following day in the Gaza Strip and to call upon to host an international conference to tackle the upcoming authority in the Strip, even if they are disarmed. And that would take consultations in Egypt and America in the light of a new US administration representative of President Trump.
Alongside this, we've also witnessed Egypt's crucial role in delivering humanitarian aid. If you could expand on Egypt's role in ensuring the delivery of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip.
This role isn't only the birth of the past days, but started and continues since the 18th of October 2023. Egypt pursued to have to deliver all the sizes and of all the aids, and by the directive of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, along with the relevant authority, to provide the food aids and great and massive trucks that even imposed or conditioned to the release of the foreigner firstly and to enter the aids if there is a dire desire to save the Palestinian people. In addition, Egypt played a great role to pressure Israel, along with the United States and the United Nations, in pressuring to practicing the ultimate pressure to deliver the aids. And since that day, the aids is going to deliver by Egypt, the NGOs of Egypt, and this matter will lead to the double the aids in the upcoming hours with the opening in the crossing corridor to enter more than that number on a daily basis, to taking the privilege of the momentum supported by the international community to continue delivering the aids along with the Western countries in order to provide the ultimate goal of saving the Palestinian people following the 15 months of genocide war in the Gaza Strip.
Now, sir, there is still one sticking name among the female hostages that Hamas still holds, Erbil Yahud. Why has Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu made the release of Erbil Yahud a precondition for the return of residents to northern Gaza?
In fact, there was a name of a civilian named Erbil Yahud, supposedly to be released and to present her name along with the 4 female prisoners or detainees. This detainee isn't with Hamas but with Al Jihad, and due to the administrative procedure that was hindered to the north of Gaza, that's been postponed along with the third picture of release. Netanyahu wanted to take in this pretext to hinder and to renege the execution of the swab. The mediators intervened along with practicing more pressure upon Hamas and in Israel, and this Iril Yehuda will be released in the upcoming Saturday along with the third batch of the Israeli detainees based on the deal. Up till this moment, Netanyahu wanted to hear a voice record to make sure that she is alive. Hamas reported the mediators and the brokers and the Israeli side that she is still alive, in good health, and should be released on Saturday. So therefore Israel should revenge these hinders and obstacles, otherwise the deal will be halted. Before the pressure from Egypt and Israel reneged to allow the southern people to go into the north through the international supervision and an American corporation to follow the vehicles carried by the Palestinians into the north. And this issue of the detainees will be solved, and matters are going fine and satisfactory by both sides, the Israeli and the Palestinian.
Now, sir, looking ahead, how do you foresee the detainee exchange process in prolonging the current ceasefire agreement and the long-term peace negotiations?
That signed in Doha, and the deal, each one of 42 days, and all are monitoring to execute the three phases. It is premature to talk about a permanent peace in the region. That would rely on the commitment of Israel to execute the deal of three phases. And also Trump that affirmed lately that he will pursue to achieve the peace in the Middle East and to end the war in the Gaza Strip, as well as the Ukrainian and Russian war, to have a legacy of peace throughout the world. Is he going to succeed, or is he going to pressure Saudi for the normalization based on just economic collaboration? And it is premature to tackle, and it's too early to talk about a permanent peace without the Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon and the swap deals, and then along with the collaboration with America, with the Arabs, to pave the way for a peaceful settlement. But I think it is premature to talk about it right now.
That was Al Ahram newspaper managing editor Ashraf Al Ashri. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News and for all the information you provided us with. Now we're going to move back to Mona in the studio.
Thank you so much, Salma, for the analysis. And back to our bulletin. Russia has criticized the head of UN Children's Agency, the UNICEF, for failing to provide a substantial reason for declining to brief the Security Council on the situation of children in Gaza. During a meeting called by Russia, UN Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia accused the United States of bearing partial responsibility for the death of children in Gaza, citing its use of veto power in the Security Council to protect Israel during the war. Nebenzia also claimed that the US ignored Russia's earlier calls for a meeting on Gaza's children in December. The United Nations Relief and Work Agency, the UNRWA, has reported that 660,000 children in Gaza are out of school, with 88% of schools either damaged or destroyed. According to UNRWA, over 14,500 children have died during the ongoing Israeli war on Gaza. Juliet Tuma, UNRWA's Director of Communications, highlighted the agency's efforts to provide education, mental health support, and essential humanitarian aid despite significant challenges. This came as a new Israeli law poses a threat to UNRWA's operation in Palestinian territories. However, the agency has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. The UN Office for Humanitarian Affairs has raised concerns about worsening healthcare access in the West Bank due to the Israeli movement restrictions. According to their statements, only 68% of health centers operate just 2 to 3 days a week, while hospitals are running at 70% capacity. Severe mobility restrictions, including road closures and lengthy checkpoints delay, are further disrupting access to critical healthcare services. Moving on to Lebanon, where the Israeli army has issued a warning to residents of South Lebanon, advising them to avoid certain areas around several villages. In a statement, the army announced a prohibition on entering many villages and towns in the south until further notice. The statement also emphasized that the Israeli military does not target civilians. The White House has stressed the urgent need to extend the deadline for both the Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon and the ceasefire. In a statement, the White House confirmed that the United States is working closely with regional partners to finalize an extension of the ceasefire originally agreed upon on November 27, 2024. The statement also noted that President Donald Trump is committed to facilitating the return of Israelis to the north while supporting the Lebanese president and government.
And we made a lot of progress. It's tragic events, really tragic.
The Lebanese army has confirmed its readiness to deploy in the southern border areas, accusing Israel of delaying its withdrawal under the ceasefire agreement. In a statement, the army highlighted that its units are actively implementing an operational plan to enhance deployment south of the Litani River, following directives from the cabinet. This deployment has been carried out in coordinated stages since the ceasefire agreement took effect, with oversight from the Quintet committee responsible for its implementation. Lebanese army units have begun taking control of positions previously held by Palestinian factions at the entrance of the Bedawi camp in Tripoli, northern Lebanon. In a communique, the army announced that it had taken over a checkpoint operated by the Popular Front General Command at the camp's main entrance, known as the General Command Entrance. Additionally, military positions held by the Fatah Intifada organization have also been brought under army control. In Syria, Foreign Minister Asad al-Shibani has stated that the Syrian people are calling for the lifting of sanctions that have impeded their development and economic growth. Al-Shibani emphasized the urgent need to lift sanctions on Syria to allow for its recovery, stability, and the opportunity for a dignified life. He also highlighted that the Syrian people aspire to be part of a unified Arab project that fosters economic diversity.
Of investment, Syria resources of economy are diverse, and we have a lot of sectors.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, the UNHCR, has announced that 40 Syrian refugee families have left the Azraq camp in Jordan to return to Syria as part of the voluntary repatriation efforts. The UNHCR stated that the families departed Jordan in coordination with the International Organization for Migration, which organized voluntary return flights for refugees wishing to return to their home. The process also involved facilitating the return procedures, including providing necessary transportation for individuals. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here is what we've been covering. 70 Palestinian detainees arrive in Egypt under the exchange agreement. Hamas hand over 4 Israeli soldiers to the Red Cross in Gaza. And Netanyahu conditions Palestinians' return to northern Gaza. This concludes our news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Qnews EGY to stay informed. Many thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.